If your job is about doing, that's not a world that you want to be in the future, because AI is going to do the doing better than you, but what you can get better at is...
Let's play an experiment. You're 20 years old today and you only have one device, your phone. What are you going to do to make your first million?
The moment you sell anything to a stranger is the moment you become an entrepreneur. The best thing you could sell is the thing that's going to set you up for the future, call those meta skills.
What are the other meta skills that you think are really fundamental to business?
There's 3 specific ones. The first one is vision. The ability to visualize and see a future. That's a skill. The other one is taste. AI can produce 2,700 variants of a Facebook ad, but only somebody with taste can go, these 3 are actually really great. And then the third is...
How do you want your boys to remember you?
Oh, so hard to tell. On stage at this event, knew my dad was in the green room watching the screen, and Scott said to him, you need to stand here and take this in. I didn't have a father and I would give anything for him to be here right now. And he said, just watch. Sometimes our purpose sits right next to the worst thing that's ever happened to us. Today, a lot of people know me as the guy who built and exited 3 software companies. My mission is to die empty. So that's who I am.
I want to quote you something that I believe you said. If you can't see a path to $1 million, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. What do you mean?
It's a beautiful question, and nobody's going to like my answer.
What's the context we need to know about Dan Martell that's made the person you are today?
Well, I mean, my background's software and AI. As a teenager, I struggled with ADHD and addiction. And, and then today, a lot of people know me as the guy who has built and exited 3 software companies, written best-selling books. I've helped, I think, over 10,000 business owners grow and scale their companies. But I'm also the guy that when I started failed at my 2 first companies in a big way and honestly struggled to find any level of success. And today I'm on a mission, man. I'm on a mission to help entrepreneurs build businesses that they don't grow to hate.
Why?
I think it comes back to my purpose. So what's interesting is my purpose for why I wake up every day is to help young people not feel broken. And the desire to help the entrepreneurs not build a business they grow that hate essentially is my way of getting the attention of the world to help the kids. Like sounds weird because there's probably a more efficient way to do this. If I knew how to do it, I would. But at the end of the day, I just remember the first time I pulled up to a rehab center that I've been speaking at for years in my first supercar, and how the kids responded to that symbol. Like I was the same person the week before than after the car, but all of a sudden now they leaned in. So there is an element of trust. There's an element of belief. There's an element of proof. And yeah, I'm just passionate about watching entrepreneurs create great companies. And most of them would if they didn't hate the way they built it. But all that is really to serve the work I do with the youth, which is a big part of my life. I have a free program called King's Club that's massive when we stream online. And I think I've given away, the team just told me, 10,368 copies of this book called Think and Grow Rich. And my mission is to die empty. So that's who I am.
What a good way to start. I like this already, Dan. So let's play an experiment. You're 20 years old today.
I'm 45, but yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. Oh, you're saying if I was 20 again. Oh, okay, good.
Well, imagine that. Oh, you're not 20? Yeah,
I was like, man, thank you.
Let's play an experiment. You're 20 years old today and you only have one device, your phone. What are you going to do to make your first million?
I'm such a go do it. My license plate's JFDI. Okay. As soon as you said that's all I had, I'm starting to cold call people and sell them AI automation. I would do it right now. If the podcast was anything about that. I just think the moment you sell anything to a stranger is the moment you become an entrepreneur. Everybody overcomplicates it. The best thing you could sell is the thing that's going to set you up for the future. I call those meta skills, right? A meta skill is a skill that you acquire that not only teaches you something, but sets a foundation for something else. I don't think anybody would argue that AI is a pretty good meta skill. And being in an industry, like let's say AI automation, because that's the first thing I would do, is I would sell that, that's growing, even if you're not good. And if I'm starting at 20, I'm probably not good. When you're in something that you're not good at, but it's growing, if you're bad, you'll be good. And if you're good, you'll be great. That was some advice a mentor of mine gave to me a long time ago. He's like, choosing the market is the most important part, just because if you choose a market that's growing really quick, that it'll pull you upwards into it just through the nature of the expansion, right? It'll just like, if you're in it, they'll be like, we need a warm body. Hey, you said you know AI automation. Okay. Next thing you know, that's your profession. So that's what I would do. And then in parallel with that, because I think it's a big part of my mission, is use the business to do the work on the mindset. It's like, I think entrepreneurship is the ultimate personal development program. And if you have the privilege of being in that world where you're in a business and you're selling stuff to other people, use the friction, the challenges of that to actually give you guidance and direction of where you have opportunity to improve your life. And that's what I'm doing at 20. I wish I had that answer at 20. that took me 10 years, bro. That is
10 years of getting beaten down.
Yeah, I wish somebody would have sat me down and said, you can just ignore everything else, just do this.
That's so good. You said the word meta skills, and I feel like it was the exact word that I needed recently to unlock a thought that I've been having around that exact topic, which is like, what are the core fundamental skills that shape everything? And for me, I've been trying to like wrestle for whatever reason in my mind around this concept of like, if I could only have one skill, and now you've labeled it for me, a meta skill, I've always thought it's been communication. And like in a really weird way, if you think about it, everything you do in business and almost in life starts with a thought. And if you construct the right words into a sentence, things can be done. You know, like to build a business, or you said like the first thing you want to do is go cold call people. Well, the first skill, you know, you need is that like that communication piece and that meta skills. What are the other meta skills that you think are really fundamental to business?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. You're like, language is actually how you create. Like everybody wants to confuse it. Is it software code? That's my world. Is it copywriting? Is it video? Is it, you know, all the other artifacts of business are always on the backside of words being spoken by a person. So that skill of communicating is I think the ultimate meta skill. And then below that, if you stack, because I call them skill stacking, I think the written word, because it gives you more leverage, right? Now, video gives you leverage because I can record a video training somebody, I can record a video teaching something, I can record a video with a message that could be seen 10 million times, 100 million times, and it takes no more effort. But the written word has the ability to convert, I think, better than the audible word. And you could just look at religion for proof of this, right? Like the people that are written about in the books haven't been around for a while. The books are still doing the thing. So you would argue that that's a pretty efficient way. And then I look at the skills that are going to be really tough for AI to disrupt if we use that as like a lens, right? Because like there's no point in learning a meta skill that AI is going to make irrelevant. And I think there's three specific ones. The first one is vision. The ability to visualize and come up and see a future around how a problem could be solved, a world that doesn't exist. And here's the key, that should. That's a skill. Some people have vision, some people don't. And you can tell by the language they use, back to words create things, if they are connected to a vision. And I know you've been in conversation with people and you're like, man, your psychology is so limiting. It's the words, but it starts with the vision. Does the person have they spent the time to think about it, and can they see it? So vision is a great meta skill. The other one is taste, right? Again, AI can produce 2,700 variants of a Facebook ad, but only somebody with taste can go, out of those 2,700, these three are actually really great. And to develop that skill, it's the process of being in an environment where you have repetition, right? So like I always think of the analogy of a waterfall. Like if I'm trying to learn something, let's call it communicating, videos, content, I want to sit under a waterfall of that skill. I want to consume the content. I want to analyze it. I want to make a list of the top 10. I want to study those top 10 people. I want to see examples. I want to buy courses. I want to I want to be in the waterfall, because that's the only way you can actually develop taste. And then the third is care. And the cool part is that, you know, as long as there's two people in proximity, biology, energy, in play, which I don't see a future where that won't be the case. If I feel that you truly care about my needs, then I'm going to want to see you win and support you through that care. And that is not something AI can do today or will do in the future. Like it could maybe someday simulate. I just don't. So I think of like a meta skill of like, how do you, because I know a lot of people that do care about people, but they don't show it. I know a lot of people that show it, but then have a hard time creating boundaries. So it's the other end of the spectrum, right? They sacrifice their own life. So care is one of those things where there's a whole lot of levels to it. But when you think about creating things in the world, the people that care the most are the ones that have the biggest team of great people that help execute. And that those skills, those meta skills of like vision, taste, and care, TVC is what I call it. That's what I'm going to on the backside of verbal communication and written communication.
Okay. So we've been together for like 12 minutes, Dan. And what I'm immediately struck by is like, as I'm asking these questions, every answer has like these thoughtful layers behind it. You know, it's immediately, oh, like this thing is this acronym. It has this, you know, it has this analogy. And there's like clearly an amount of time that's been spent. Do you spend time like unpacking these kind of thoughts and creating these building blocks? This is obviously not written down, but I'm just like vibing.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of alluded to the idea. If you think of what communication is, there's a pattern to it, right? I'm a software guy. As a software guy, there's this thing called object-oriented programming. You know, okay. So I grew up at 17 and learning to code literally saved my life because I was in a really dark spot and I got clean off the drugs and the addiction, and software filled that gap. And then I went to this other world where everything was structured. And if you wrote the code and the code ran and the computer was on, it'll do the thing for the rest of your life. So I grew up in so much chaos that this certainty of software became therapeutic. So then I learned database design, object-oriented programming, UML, if you're old enough to know Unified Modeling Language. Like I'm going to go nerdy and then I'm going to make it relevant.
I love it.
But that experience of growing up in kind of like a systems architecture world taught me the value of frameworks. So as I learned business concepts and marketing concepts and life philosophies, I would always rewrite them. And I actually do that as a daily practice. I rewrite them into the framework for me.
Wow.
So if you taught me something, I would be like, I heard what Frank said. Here's the way I heard it. And I would try to find the pattern in it, because then it's a thing that I can use again. It's a thing I can teach to people. It's a thing that is portable. It's memorable. I'll remember it. And that's kind of how I've lived my life. A long time ago, because I really believe that questions are the programming language of the mind. And when you figure out kind of like what are these questions that you run throughout the day that most people are not even conscious about, that drive your life, the idea of reprogramming your mind by adopting new beliefs was the ultimate, in many ways, meta skill, right? Because if I read something that moves me and then I can rewrite it in the language that makes sense to me, then I'm internalizing it. So, and I'll show you after our interview, or I can show you now, I have a notes file. When I read anything or hear anything, I rewrite it. And I've been doing that for 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I just like everything. Every book, I've read over 1,600 books. I read a passage, I rewrite it, I rewrite it. And then every once in a while, especially as I create more content, I'll say something like, the world will show you where you're not free. And people go, oh my gosh. Or like, nobody has to change for you to win. Or exhaust the body, tame the mind. Because there are other things that people have said in different ways that I've just rewritten.
Yeah.
And what you can't ever get away from is the energy used to create the content is felt by the audience. It's kind of a cool idea if you think about, and I'm really inspired by music. I'm really inspired by screenwriters, screenplay like Aaron Sorkin, or Benny Blanco on the music side, or, obviously Rick Rubin, and he wrote this great book called The Creative Act. But that philosophy is a universal truth. If you're not feeling it, it's not going to work. That's business, that's relationships, that's
so true.
Neighborhoods on where you want to live. Like there's a vibe to it. And I think all I've tried to do over my life is crystallize those concepts and just honor those feelings.
You know what's really interesting? As you shared that moment right there at the start, where you said to me, software saved your life, and so my eldest brother, I think I'm gonna get this wrong, but I think he's like 38 years old. And for the first time, I learned something about him yesterday. We previously had built a business together, 13 years, every single day, exited it, and yesterday I found out. So like my background is that my dad went bankrupt. We lived in a caravan, 5 of us. We ultimately moved to New Zealand. And Ken had said something that I'd never heard him say before. He said, when we lived outside of the caravan, we didn't have power. And so when he first found computers and software, he was enamored with it because it's his first time seeing like what power could do. And so almost like connecting those dots of like how amazing, like, hearing that story yesterday and hearing how like where his love for software engineering came from was by not having power to then being able to see like the power of what it can do. And so it's like really crazy, like really interesting parallel. Again, haven't written that down, but I was just like real interested.
To double tap on that, as people in that vein, when they meet folks like yourself, I'm assuming your brother, they meet me, they go like, it sounds like you have purpose. And they go, well, how do I find my purpose? And you alluded to the answer, which is sometimes our purpose sits right next to the worst thing that's ever happened to us. And it's just for us. It's very personal. Like you might not even remember there was no power and there was power. And it was never like, that's the thing is in that moment, it didn't mean anything to you, but it might've meant something dramatic for other people. So what's beautiful about that concept, if you hear what I'm saying, is that it is a unique personal fingerprint of purpose for you. And it is what you're here to give to others. That's kind of cool, man. Like literally using the worst thing, the thing that a lot of people want to put in a box and have a lot of shame around and never tell anybody and hope nobody finds out, actually flip it on its head and go, oh, I went through that so that I could then go learn this to become who I am. And I'm proud of who I've become. And my purpose in life is to actually help other people avoid or get through that really challenging time because I can relate. And what's funny is a lot of people talk about how they don't feel qualified to help people because of the shame they have around that thing, when it's the exact reason why they're qualified to help that person. The reason why I have so much passion to support young men and like not feel broken is because that was my worst pain. So like when I'm sitting there with them, I don't even have to say a word and they feel that. And I know, and I can feel they feel that. And I can just hold space and trust that in that moment of even just holding space without words exchanged, that I could give them a little healing, that I can be an example for them. So I think it's the coolest thing for people to discover if they're willing to look.
Man, I love it. All right, we're having a bit of fun here, Dan. I want to unlock one layer deeper in terms of the world, in terms of the business. Like where we are today, we're about to go into 2026. If you were to have just 3 tools for business today, like what would those be for you?
I'm a big fan of this framework called theory of constraints. So people always ask me, they're like, hey, I want to automate my business. I want to use AI. Should I hire somebody or how should I do it? At the end of the day, all business can be distilled into raw materials, finished goods. And if it's software, it's ideas and code. If it's real estate, it's dirt and in a house. And then you look at where in that process is there a bottleneck? Where is there friction? Where if I said, if you grew 3x in the next 90 days, what would break first, right? Then I look at what things and automation I can implement to help the business grow because that's the bottleneck. For most people, they're always lead gen constrained. They don't have enough customers. It's a marketing problem. And the tools that are available today, like Manus as an example, which is a deep research AI that you can give it who you are and say, go find me leads. And it will come back with a spreadsheet of leads. And then you can use one of these AIs, and depending on the country you live in, is it legal to do outbound calls, right? Like youratlas.com or, any AI phone system that the AI scraped, and then it calls, and then it talks to them, and then it generates appointments. Now, and then guess what? We're getting to the point real soon where the AI can even do the sales call. And like there are demos of it, but I'm saying if you're at the stage where you don't have enough leads, you're probably not. Your offer probably, like you're not mature enough as a business to want to automate that step. You might want to stay in the sales conversation. And then I go to delivery, right? So first is lead gen. And if I fix lead gen, the next problem I'm going to have is delivery. Because if I can get the leads and I'm doing the sales, then I got customers, I got to onboard them. Because there's nothing worse than growing your business and having everybody that just bought be upset. You will stop growing really fast. Because
I know the feeling too well.
yeah, in the world of social media, it's like wildfire spreading through. So delivery is everything from, intake forms, using AI to automate the processing, producing first level proposals, producing project plans. Like AI can take pretty much. Like every company I'm involved in has an intake form. Some of it's voice where an AI will call, or the client can call, and it'll ask the questions and take all that intake and then generate a strategy or set up their account. But then it's everything from billing. It's everything from workflows. It's retention, right? Making sure the customer activates and gets value and sticks around and uses, and all your metrics are good. And then I would say if you've got marketing, you've got delivery, then it's kind of the operation of both. And that's where I think most businesses, especially if they're listening and they're like, I really want to make 26 my like breakout year, they need to instrument their metrics. Like, I know you know this because nobody sells their company for 180 million and not figure this out, is if I don't create the sensors in my business to measure where things could go wrong, then I will go nuts worrying about what's wrong. So then I look at, from an AI point of view, tools like precision.co. It's a crazy tool that you just connect your systems, Stripe, your marketing system, GHL, go high level, whatever you use, just click, 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 click. And it analyzes and creates your little 6 vital signs. These are the 6 numbers you need to pay attention to. It monitors them in real time because it has access to the system. It knows the industry you're in because you connect to your system. And then it tells you what the thresholds are, the benchmarks are. And not only does it tell you what needs to be fixed, it tells you who on your team should be responsible, and it gives you the playbook. Like, what do you want more? And still people are going to get inside their head and second guess it and question it. It has nothing to do with the software. The software is smarter than any of us combined. So we're at 100, I think right now it's 142 IQ for most language models. Dude, if I'm at 100, I'd be really happy. Like I'm smart enough to know I'm not that smart. And when you can use the tooling to generate leads, deliver on the customer experience in a way that's really efficient, but still high touch, because you can get your time back to actually do the stuff, the care part, and then have a tool that takes care of all the worry and the management, the quarterly planning, the annual planning that's going on right now, because that's what Precision does. And you can use whatever tool to do that. Then it really comes down to how good you are at directing. I think that is the big differentiator of the future, is understanding that the doing is going away. If your job is about doing, somebody telling you do this, go book this, buy this, transfer this, massage this data. That's not a world that you want to be in the future, because AI is going to do the doing better than you. But what you can get better at is the directing.
What do you mean by the directing?
The directing is what a director, think about what a director, and most people may not be exposed to this, but if you look at what a director does in a movie, the director is not the actor. The director is not the set designer. The director is not the financier. The director doesn't do anything other than make sure the movie's a great movie. And it has these, we can call them AIs, which are the people that are the assistant, sound design and set design and casting person, and they direct all those people and they support those people to do the best work they can do, so that the aggregated output of that effort is a blockbuster movie. Now, today, business is probably 90% doing, 10% directing, because the bottleneck is in the doing. Well, if the bottleneck of doing is now uncapped and it's literally unlimited to the 10x, 100x fold, then the bottleneck is directing. But that's a completely different skill set.
So I guess that like moves me into like the leadership side. And if I look at, you know, you've built three businesses and exited those, and now I understand you have a collection of businesses.
Yeah,
like,
Martell Ventures. We're essentially an AI venture studio where we build and launch our own companies, or we partner and support other people. But yeah, I pretty much I have 2 full-time CTOs that work for me building prototypes in our labs, and then we launch a new company every month.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's super fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How do you think about the humans in those businesses?
They're the most important part of the business. And for a few reasons. I'm trying to figure out what would be the most valuable path, because people see how I operate and they meet my team and they go, "Oh my gosh, how do I find, you know, even a Kai or like a Sam," right? They're like great people. It's like, how did you find this person? What they never ask themselves is, would that person work for me?
Bingo. So true.
Because I know that person, and if they acted that way with my chief of staff, Ann would slap them and quit in 2 weeks. So right off the bat, you canceling a meeting is a big no-no. So why is that a people issue? Because I truly believe business and leadership is nothing more than an echo of how you learn to deal with life. And that most leaders fail. Check this out. Most unhealed pain becomes company policy.
What?
Oh yeah, and now that I say that, Frank, I know you know what that means, right? Because it's where you're scared. And when you're scared, you try to control. Like imagine you hired somebody to be a creative person for you on your team, and you think to yourself, well, I can't teach them everything. Like say a head of marketing. Because what if I teach them everything and then they leave? What if you don't and they stay? Like we can all agree there's only one great outcome is they take over what I hired them to do. But if you have unhealed trauma around being abandoned, for example, and you hold on to that, you'll never materialize why you hired the person in the first place. And guess what? They'll probably quit, which means you created the scenario that got you the thing you didn't want because of that. So this has nothing to do with AI or business building, and it has everything to do with business building, because leadership, you know, and these people, if I didn't do the work to become the person who could self-reflect and say, oh, when that person's doing that, if I act out, an act out could be, you know, criticize them publicly. It could be, obviously, the worst case, I call it the doormat and the dictator. It could be the dictator that's like an asshole, Steve Jobs-esque, or the doormat, Sally, that lets everybody walk all over her. Either one of those don't work, right? But either one of those are a response to a fear about how the person's going to feel or react. And the truth is when those people are doing those things, it's because they have an unmet need. And it's either a body or a heart need, right? It's an emotional or physical. And if you understand those, then you have to do the work so that you can even be available to the person to help them. That's the crazy part. So if you're a parent, listen up, because your kids will show you where you're not free.
I've got a whole section here that I want to dive into parenting, because whenever I have a successful person that I admire, I always find a bit of time to talk about parenting, because it's mostly for my selfish needs. I don't even care if people are listening and enjoying. So we'll come to parenting shortly. But I want to ask you a question. So you mentioned Sam's been with you for 7 or 8 years. If I ask Sam, what's the number one trait that Dan has as a leader, what do you think he'd say?
What is the number one trait? Your ability to believe in other people more than they believe in themselves.
He would say, and if you didn't hear it, Sam literally answered it, but essentially he said, the ability for me to believe in other people more than they believe in themselves, and communicate that and see it, right? And here's a big thing, and Sam wouldn't know this because he's not inside my head, although some days I feel like he knows more about me than I do. is also know when it's 100% okay to see it and allow it to be.
What do you mean?
We've all experienced the moment where we saw somebody's potential, but they couldn't see it in themselves to step into the moment to capture the potential. And in that space, you can, again, do one of two things. You can push on them, what I call the tugboat, right? The tugboat sees a ship off course and it comes out of the bay and it bumps into the ship trying to get it on the right course. Or you could just be the lighthouse. And a lighthouse sits there, and check this out, in the most dangerous spot, right? Weathering the storms and the craziness, and it shines its light so that it can help the boat, show it the proper passage. But the best part is it can do that for thousands of boats, and it takes nothing away from the lighthouse, where the tugboat, in doing that, puts itself at risk. So yes, my superpower is seeing in other people more than they see in themselves. And the only way I'm able to do that the way I do it is by also disconnecting the desire of them hearing, seeing, or changing. But I will show them.
Fuck yeah. Oh man, this is good. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. My litmus test for a good podcast, to be honest, apart from engagement and viewers and all that stuff, it's just like, I just like having a good conversation.
Same.
And so this is epic. So I want to quote you something that I believe you said on the internet, and I really liked it. If you can't see a path to $1 million, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. And so here's my question to you. For the context, the product that we're building and about to launch is Kinso. And so the problem statement we're going after is business communications in too many places: Gmail, Slack, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, Instagram. And so what we're doing is creating one app, bring it all together, and then using AI, we learn and understand the goals of the user, and we prioritize messages based on what's most important to you. Our goal when we launch is to do $1 million ARR, or $1 million annual recurring revenue, in the first week. What would you do to do that?
You want to get to $1 million a month or $1 million a year?
$1 million a year, but within the first week.
83K.
Yeah.
Essentially an 83K monthly run rate within the first week.
Yeah.
I'm just the kind, again, I'm not that smart. I just back up the numbers. So I would look at the pricing and figure out how many units, obviously, I'd need to sell to get to 83K in that month or that week for that month. And then I would figure out what channels I'm going to have access to. And if you're honest with yourself and you run that math, most people, the only way they could do that is through a partnership distribution model, which is how I launch all my companies, because I think it's the most efficient. If I can convince somebody else, so I can have two people in front of me and have a sales conversation with them. One is somebody interested in my product to use my product. And if I can convince them, I get a customer, one customer. The other one has a community of 3,000 people that could be a customer. And if I can convince them to let me come into their community and present some value and then make an offer, I potentially could get 500 customers. Same effort, same amount of time, same conversation, trust, build, all that stuff. 500 versus one. So I would definitely look at what you're doing from a partner point of view, and then just use some kind of like napkin math that's not super hyped up on conversions in regards to like how big of an audience are they? Is it a stage speaking? Is it a webinar? Is it an email? What are the conversions? Then you look at like your assets in regards to like earned media, your email list, your messages. Obviously you guys have been building incredible online brand and distribution, and just make sure the numbers pencil out. And I always like to err on the pessimistic numbers in regards to conversions and metrics, because most people go the other way. And I would much rather do more effort than needed to make it inevitable than cross my fingers and pray that we figured it out. But the good news is anybody could do it. You could do 83K in a week. You can do, 160. You could literally double it if you could just back into the activity that would need to be true for that to happen.
Love that. How good. Another quote for you, if that's okay.
Can I first close the loop on something you said? Because it was an interesting comment, and I appreciated the question. You said, if you don't have a business that does $1 million in revenue, you don't have a business, you have a hobby.
Yes.
For those that were like, ouch, and want to know why I say that, is because being a business owner is an owner of a business, and a business makes money whether you work there or not. And most people don't have a business that will run without them there. So they don't have a business, they have a job. And that's a fact. If I own a restaurant, but I have to cook every day, I don't have a business that's called a restaurant. I have a job. And I think if people just get more honest with themselves, they would work faster to get to that point. And it's usually more like 2 million than 1 million, but you can get there with 1 million. I have a framework called the replacement ladder. And essentially it's the first hire is an admin, then it's somebody help with delivery, then it's help with marketing, then it's sales, then it's leadership. So it's really 5 hires. And if you're doing 1 million in revenue, you can hire 5 people and the business is to the point where you can go on vacation and somebody else generated the audience. Somebody else had that conversation, didn't come into your life or buy your services. Somebody else took the initial call to onboard them and activate their service, whatever you sell, while you're on vacation. And I would say that's a business.
Okay, let's dive there. So that was a really interesting framework you just you just quickly shared with the world.
Chapter 6 of my book, though, so it's fresh. Yeah,
the replacement ladder. And so if I understand that, if I unpick that correctly, what you're suggesting is kind of like you start a business day one, and now we're looking at like replacing your kind of your efforts in the business, and these are the stepping stones of the types of jobs that you're replacing to ultimately like fulfill a full scale business. Would that be kind of correct?
100%.
It's a really interesting way to look at it. And so what I'm enjoying about our conversation, Dan, is you're able to neatly package up these concepts and ideas that are in my mind in a much more structured, cool way. And so like when I get asked that question, when people ask, the straightforward question, who's my first hire? My usual approach is to say is like, you look at yourself as a founder leader, what is your unfair advantage and what's the thing that creates the highest value that you can do in a business? And so if you audit your time, let's say that is you can drive sales and revenue. Okay, well then what are the other tasks you're doing that are not doing that task? And what's the one that you can replace with the cheapest cost? Go and replace that. But I like your structure.
But what's interesting is we're both saying the same thing. I just decided to say, if I had to answer it quicker, I'm not giving them an option. It's called an admin because I think anybody that hears what you just said and gets to that point, audits their time, they go, oh, I need somebody to help with administrative type work.
Yeah.
The challenge at that level, those 5 levels, and the reason why it's an admin, and I'm going to give everybody a really valuable tool, is because it's the least amount of money spent to learn the skill of delegation on tasks that are not mission critical. The problem most people make when they're at that level of hiring the admin is they actually don't think they have enough for that person to do. So anybody that wants to follow me on Instagram, Dan Martell, 2 L's on Martell on Instagram, and follow me, that's the only thing I ask, I will send them my internal, personal executive assistant playbook. It's 42 pages of my North Star principles, all my email templates, my calendar structure, my agenda structure to work with my executive assistant. And if you can't look at this and go, oh, wow, I do have a lot of stuff I need to stop doing that is low value, not critical to the business, not inside my unique ability. Like you creating an invoice is not a unique ability. Unless you're an accountant and you love numbers, which they do exist, but not for me. I think people would really, they just got to get that, message me, Frank. Yeah, EA Frank.
EA Frank.
Yeah, because if they don't, then I'm not going to send it to them. Okay, so cool. EA Frank, DM me on Instagram, and I'll send it over. Direct link, no opt-in. It's just my Google Doc. That is why I just think about things and just go like, if I had to distill it and distill it and distill it, what would I distill it? So that's all it is. It's just, you would have got there too if you just I spent an absurd amount of hours debating and arguing who's your first hire in a sequence of hires. Again, because I have so many companies that I'm partner with, I created the frameworks for them. Right?
Did you, and I'm coming back to something for a moment, but it's just, I'm sorry, I'm very impressed by it. So I'm going to keep going there for a second. Did you have this kind of way of communicating prior to doing content, or has content like the need to package it up into video and into short form really supercharged your communication here?
I will say it wasn't the content that I think we're talking about, which is like the public Instagram short form, long form, but it was coaching.
Yes.
When I decided to start taking on, it's been over a decade now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. After I sold, I think it was my second company, Clarity. My buddy Martell, what? Third company? Clarity. Yes. So he's here. Fact checker. So that, like, after I sold my third company, Clarity, one of my best friends, Martell, who's like the French Tony Robbins, okay? He sat me down and he was like, why aren't you a coach? And I go, because I like to build. He goes, I know, but I would love for you to coach me. And I said, well, you're my best friend, bro. You can ask me questions. He goes, I know you always let me ask you questions, but I would rather it be more structured. And I said no for a while. I like refused. I'm like, dude, I'm just going to keep building companies. I really like it. I'm good at it. And he brought me to an event and I watched him do what he does. And that's when I realized, like, oh, there's a whole different reason why you would coach people. And when I started coaching, essentially I needed to do all this stuff we just talked about, which is I needed to figure out what was the frameworks and the models and the repeatable systems that I could teach. Because I thought a lot of people are competent, but they're incompetent. They can't tell you how they do it, but they can do it. And because of my software background, I understand the concepts of system design and model design and framework design. So I just applied that to teaching these, marketing, sales, operational, leadership frameworks. And people liked my squares, circles, and triangles. So. Cool.
And now it's all clicking to me why you've had this meteoric rise on the content front. It's because these are all like
building blocks.
Yeah, you've built all the building blocks, and so getting in front of a camera wasn't like, oh, I got to learn these things.
It wasn't a new thing. I was stacking a skill that I had developed. Like, that's why I leave my old videos up so you can see the progression. I think I've got almost 11 years now on YouTube. And what you won't see, and this is true, like I have a friend that, similar size audiences to me. And when he came out, everybody was watching his content and they were like, how is he so good? Now, what I knew is that for 7 years, 365 days a year, he had a community and he went live in a Facebook group for 2 hours a day. So I don't know what 365 times 7 is, but it's a lot. Times 2 hours answering questions for people in his space. So when he finally had like just a different medium, like a camera on him, he was on a camera and he was answering questions through Zoom, or I think it was a Facebook Live he did every day to his private community. He just did what he had practiced for thousands of hours. And people were like, how do you do that? He's like, oh, that. and I think that's what we usually see. Like there's no person, I don't care if they're 22 and they just had success. They probably started at 12. Like my son is 13 and he's been editing videos since he was 10.
That's cool.
So by the time he probably gets a real job when he's 15 or 16 or 17, people are going to be like, oh, he's a genius. He's a this. I'm like, no, he's got 7 years of like really caring about editing videos. And just so you know, he's never edited any of my videos. Sam won't hire him. Sam. He's like, look, he can work anywhere else. I don't think we need that. But I just think that's always been true when you meet people that are exceptional is, it's the private victories that people celebrate you for the public recognition. But nobody sees the private victories. Nobody sees I trained every day, for the last 90 days or 150 days. You're celebrating the win, but that's not what got me the win.
Love that. Kai, when was your first video? It just reminded me of, your first edit.
Oh gosh, I have a YouTube video from 2011 that I uploaded as a Call of Duty edit. I would have been 10.
10 years old, yeah.
Same.
So exactly. As you were saying that, I was
that's
like,
what I'm saying.
You were describing Kai because he started with me at 17, and within 6 months, he was teaching the rest of our team how to edit. So we had like a team of shooters and editors, and then after it, everyone's like, "How the fuck does this kid go for? Like, how is he so good?" And it's like, yeah, because you've been putting the reps since you were 10.
It's always it's rare that I've ever not found that when I've talked to people, and even the young people, like. You just meet them and they're like, yeah, I sold my company for 100 million at 25. It's like, when did you start your first company? 11. Okay, well then that's your chapter 15. Yeah. So then when the other 25-year-olds are in chapter 1 of their journey, because that's really a better way to evaluate it. I'm 28 years of doing software. not that impressive, 28 years. So it's really cool that it's available to people, and it's just a decision. If you want to do content, are you willing to commit to it? When I started my YouTube channel, I made a commitment. I will post every week for a decade.
Wow.
And I never missed. And that was a wild decision. But I was like, look, I don't know what'll happen, but I can at least dedicate a decade, right? Most people can't even dedicate 30 days, 6 months. I was like, I'm going to dedicate a decade because I trusted, to your point earlier, that creating the content's going to make me a better communicator, which is making me a better entrepreneur. It's going to make me a better dad. It's going to make me a better thinker, better writer. Just felt like a good use of my time.
Just as you said that, the first thing that came to my mind is, I'm sure you've heard the stats where people talk about, 90% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And I've always had this wrestle with those stats, because I think the problem is a failure is determined by, a business entity is set up and then a business entity is closed down, and that's considered a failure. But ultimately, most of the time, to win in the game is just to stay in the game. And less so about tracking the business that got set up and set down, is track the individual. And then you say, how many people that stayed in the game for 15 to 20 years failed? And I'd be really interested to understand that stat, because that's exactly the point there. It's you're just as long as you're willing to commit and continue with the reps, the likelihood is you're going to make it.
It's not guaranteed, because there are those people that we all know that have been side hustling for 25 years and they're still doing the same thing. It's just different. It looks different, and they're barely making a living. Those people just haven't figured out that it's not the next opportunity, it's who they are. So that's why I always say, if you treat entrepreneurship like a dojo for personal development, you will be rich. If you keep using business as a way to try to get rich, you will be poor. Because the money has never been a byproduct of, did you pick the right, should I do drop shipping? Should I do crypto? Should I do trading? Should I do AI automation? Dude, that doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. And every kid wants the answer. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. It matters to you, but in the grand scheme of things, can you stick with it? So choose the thing that you're willing to commit to mastery. That's the only winning strategy, bro. It's and that's why if it's stock trading, then cool, but just commit to mastery. If it's editing videos, then commit to mastery. That's the true decision, not what it is. It's, are you willing to go further and longer than any other person? Because that's what makes you exceptional, right? The reason why you have an extraordinary life is because you were extra, because you were doing something that where everybody else gave up, and it was logical. In the situation you found yourself, any normal human being would have been I can't do this, right? The founder of Phil Knight at Nike woke up 10 years into business with a $20 million tax bill. I don't want to ruin the story for anybody, but the book Shoe Dog is an amazing read.
It's amazing. It's so good.
And I read this and I go, and this is 1980 something. That's 50 million or 60 million. I would have gave up, bro. Frank, I would have shut down the business and started from scratch. I'm not paying the government $20 million. He didn't. And because of that, he got the value of the compound. And that was what makes any business, is the value of the compound. And dude, that's what it takes, the commitment to mastery.
I love it. Let's shift gears one more time as we start to kind of wind down, Dan. Let's talk about kids. What are the most important things that you want to bestow onto your kids?
Monkey see, monkey do. Your kids are not going to listen to what you say. They're going to watch what you do. And if you don't realize that as a parent, you have this incredible opportunity to be the generation that stops whatever you went through, whatever crazy thing happened to you, and we all have them. Nobody gets unscathed, man. Life is meant to be lived, and everybody has to live it. It doesn't matter if it's drinking, it doesn't matter if it's drug, emotional abuse, physical abuse, and it may not even be in your family, but it was around, and it impacted you. And this is where I just think that most parents don't realize that they're carrying with them this generational, call it trauma or pain, that they're gonna push it on their kids inadvertently. They're not gonna mean to. They're not gonna wake up and be like, oh, today's the day I teach this bad habit, but if you have an addiction, okay, and I'm talking any addiction from video games to smoking vapes to gambling, dude, your kids, I remember when my kids were like 4 and 5, I'm like, they can't really even talk that well. They don't understand what I'm saying. They understand. They understand. By the time you think they don't understand or you think they'll understand, they've been understanding for 3 years prior. And they'll surprise you with it. And at that point, it's too late. So I just think most parents don't realize that their kids are homeschooled. And I hope they hear that when I say it, because I mean it exactly the way I said it. Every kid is homeschooled. It's whether the parents realize it or not. And most parents spend more time trying to figure out what vacation they're going on this year than how they want to show up to be an example for their kids. The worst part is when they blame their kids for not living a bigger life instead of using their kids as the reason to live a bigger life. That one's wild to me.
And so you apart from obviously understanding that you were homeschooling regardless, but you also homeschool on top of that?
It's a new thing. We did it this year as we traveled the world. Yeah,
Yes.
we're world schooling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it took me 10 years to convince my wife to do it.
How's it been?
It's been everything I need and not what I expected. And that is a beautiful way to look at it. It's we have this incredible woman, Kinsey, that travels with us, and she supports Renee and I, and she supports the kids. And the kids they're 12 and 13, and they're going through their hormonal teenage stage. They're 11 months apart, so they're Irish twins, and it's a lot for Kinsey. And sometimes I see the way she's trying to coordinate, and it's crazy, and they're not listening, and she's got one kid here, and I'm like, where's the other kid? Well, he ran down the street. I'm like, okay, do you want, and I help her out. And the other day I sent her a text message because I could tell she felt bad for it not being like, her desire is that it's just easy for Dan and Renee, and it's awesome. So that was her desire. And then I watch what it is, and I'm laughing because I know she wanted that. And I could tell she felt bad. So I sent her a text message and essentially just say to her, I said, look, life, I know your heart wants things to be easy, but life doesn't give us what we want. It gives us what we need. And if we don't learn to grow through things instead of just go through things, we'll never learn the lesson, and they'll be repeated again until we do. Pain is the perfect teacher. So right now, as hard as it is, I would just ask that you look for the lesson. Because at the end of this whole journey of traveling the world, we're at 12 countries, we got another 12 to go. So 24 country trip in a year. You're gonna look at the lessons you took if you take the time to reflect. And that will be, I hope, the biggest gift you get from spending time with our family, because that's all I got anyway. Like that's all we got. And I'm not upset, and Renee's not upset. And the boys are gonna look back and appreciate how incredibly patient you were, even though they might say things that is not very nice right now. It just is what it is. So like when you ask me how it's going, I just laugh because people are like, oh my God, it's so lucky. I'm like, you wouldn't last. Most people wouldn't last. Yeah. We've been traveling every week, and I probably wouldn't do it the exact same way we've been doing it.
Because you're moving around a lot?
Yeah. We're moving every week or every 10 days.
That's intense.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's pick places and stick around for a bit. But again, I'm not here to do easy. And that would have been easy. We've been traveling 2 new countries a year, one place. That's easy. That's not what I want to do. I wanted the dynamic aspect of waking up and saying, you know what? We did Thailand. Let's skip Vietnam, go to Singapore instead, and head over to Perth because we're close enough and we've never been. And that's what we did.
That's cool. How do you want your boys to remember you?
It's a beautiful question, and nobody's going to like my answer. I tell my kids every day that they don't have to do anything or be anything for me to love them. It's the last thing I say to them every night when I put them to bed. Because the ultimate pain I would have is ever feeling like they're trying to live a life to please me. Because they'll never be able to do that because I'm not needing that. And they'll make decisions based on that isn't for them. So when you say, how would you like your kids to remember you? That would be amazing. But I don't, even all the content, people say to me, oh my God, they're going to be little entrepreneurs. Or not. Zero pressure on them. I don't need my kids to be anything, do anything. Like I watch these parents at soccer tournaments screaming at their kids and telling them how to play soccer. There was one mom violently screaming at this kid, Timmy. And I was on the sidelines and she was down the pitch and Timmy was close to me. I said, hey, Timmy, is that your mom? He's like, yeah. I said, do you like when she screams at you? And he's like, no. I said, you should tell her. He's like, yeah. I was like, and then he goes, the coach is already screaming at me enough as it is. Why does she have to scream at me, embarrass me in front of my friends? I said, you should tell her. Because like, I just think too many parents have kids and then play life through their kids. How about you play life? So like, that's what I hope they see. And you know, every time I've heard them or there's anecdotes, like one thing I did recently, which it was kind of a new like test, is I had a buddy going through a really tough time. His Instagram got deleted and his whole business was Instagram.
Shit.
And I did the call on speakerphone in the car driving to the airport while my older son was with me by design so that he could hear me have a conversation with a friend that was having a hard time. So that he could hear that relationship and friendship and advice. Now, I didn't say anything to him. Monkey see, monkey do. And when I hung up the call, 15-minute call, and we get to the airport, he just goes, they call me Dita. That's my, like, I'm not dad, I'm Dita. They go, Dita, I like what you said to him. I said, what was that? Because my buddy was upset. He thinks he know who did it. And he was like pissed off. He's like, should I sue them? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bro, look, learn the lesson, move on. Somebody broke into your office and stole everything. Are you going to move offices because your place got broken in? Or are you going to get a security alarm and get back to work? And I said, anytime more than's necessary to just get a security alarm and get back to work is just wasted effort and energy and time and headspace. And he's like, oh, that's a good analogy. And my son said that to me. So he took away that idea of like, no matter what life happens, you have to respond, but only appropriate enough to the situation to fix it and then move on. Dude, he would have never listened to me trying to teach him this. It had to come through this like conversation. So I think, what would I hope my kids say about me? I hope that they say like, my dad really lived life. Like, it's so funny. For what it's worth, Frank, in case you didn't know this, your wife thinks she's the worst mother and you think you're the best dad. And I don't know why that is, but it just is. Like, I'm like, because I know what I went through as a kid. I'm like, I'm the best dad in the world. Like, the fact that I care about reading a book about being a dad makes me the best dad, right? And my wife is like, oh my gosh, did I put sunscreen on them? Oh my gosh. Like, are they eating too much crap? Oh my gosh. I'm just like, babes, you're an amazing mom. You're like the best mom. She's like, oh no, I worry. I'm like, I know. So I don't know. The unfortunate part about life, or fortunate if you can learn to let go, is you can't test. I can't have two identical twins and put them through different experiences and say, let's see what happens here. You just try to do the best you can with what you got and just remember these first principles, which is it's what's caught, not taught. They're going to catch more than I ever say. And how do I design a world where they can catch the right things? And it's a lesson. I think I'd love to share this with everybody is, especially when you have teenage boys, 13, 14, 15. I have some great mentors, incredibly successful, financial and well-adjusted mentor families. And one of them shared with me, he's like, look, when your boys are 13, 14, 15, they're going to have this natural desire to go outside the family to build their own identity. And in that moment, it's going to hurt and you're going to want to fight it and you got to let it go. And the best you can do, and the good news is you hear this today, is surround them with other men they admire that share the same values. Like it's not a surprise. Like those three men sitting there are here for a reason. Because I know the day that Max doesn't want to come to me anymore. Hopefully he calls Sam or he calls Arturo or he calls Cohen.
I love that.
So it's, being a parent's like having your heart run outside your body. Right? You think you can protect it and you can't. But it's also like the coolest thing ever.
It's the coolest thing ever.
It is.
It's
People
the
are like, I'm
coolest.
not sure if I'm ready. Just do it. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's literally the best thing. I have one last question for you, Dan. This has been incredible. As my daughter screams downstairs. What are you most proud of?
I'm proud that I didn't give up. I think about this often. I get very emotional. The other benefit, AKA hard part about content, it's like a full-time therapy session. Mm-hmm. If you haven't realized that, I say that, maybe you're like, oh yeah. It's like every time I sit down, they're like, teach me this and tell me how you learned it. It's like, oh, I don't want, well, there's this time. And so I reflect often about how I grew up. And people always say to me, it's like, your dad must be really proud. Because again, my dad saw the worst of me as a teenager and then seen me grown into a man that like he still can't fathom. Like recently I was speaking at Tony Robbins. Tony invites me to speak at Business Mastery. Like I'm his AI guy on stage at this event. And my dad came and the organizer, Scott, who's like Tony's right-hand man, knew my dad was in the green room watching the screen and went and got him. Oh, so hard to tell. And brought him up to the side of the stage and whispered in his ear, because I only found this out later, because I was like, I saw my dad there. I was like, what is he doing there? And Scott said to him, he's like, you need to stand here and take this in. I didn't have a father and I would give anything for him to be here right now.
Wow.
And he said, just watch, just take it in. And my dad shared that after, and I was just like, how crazy. Like in those moments, what we went through and the fights and that this could even be a possibility. Like, dude, that's when people are like, did you ever think? No, I didn't ever think. What are you talking about? Every day I wake up and I'm like, was that real? And I'm just massively grateful. I'm just like always in gratitude. And I always come back. I'm just proud of myself for not stopping. Even today, I'm proud of myself for doing the work and getting up and following my routine to try to be better, to try to learn who I am, to try to be a better father and husband and friend and, partner in business and all that stuff, and try to be a better communicator and a content creator and all these things. Because I think that's actually what we're here to do. I think we're all here to do two things. I think we're here to become the 10.0 version of ourselves. The one that God, if you believe in a God, or even just aspire to be better, like whatever you think the potential is, more, aspire to that and just wake up every day to try to do that. And the other thing is share that version of you with the world, share that process with the world, share the transformation with the world. And I don't care if your world is your 3-month-old baby girl that's crying downstairs, or it's your team. But if you wake up every day to try to become a better version of you and share that version of you with the world, that is a life of fulfillment. And everything else, the stuff, that's all just gravy and cherry on top. And it's wild. So I'm just proud that I didn't stop.
Dan, this was an incredible conversation. And I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time, for sharing like so much wisdom. It's kind of blown my mind. It's been incredible, and I know people are going to love it. So
It's an honor.
thank you so much.
Thanks, Frank. Appreciate it.